Okay, this is wild. I wanted to show you, I'm creating images for promoting my audiobook, The Adventures of Chatterer the Red Squirrel. And here he's trying to escape Shadow the Weasel. We should have an image of maybe the weasel lower down on the tree. I don't know. I think that's not the main thing. Is there's a point where Chatterer is pulling on this. He has this idea to get away from the squirrels. He upset this weasel, excuse me. The squirrel is trying to get away from the weasel, and the weasel can fit anywhere the squirrel can. They're usually when the squirrel upsets somebody, and he's kind of a troublemaker, and he learns a lot of lessons along the way in this book, which is one of the reasons the main reason I chose the story to spend. Well, I spent 4 years on it, but anyway, the the deal is he's trying to get away from Shadow towards the beginning of the book, and comes up with an idea which works, but it was a big risk. He knows that Redtail the hawk would be just as interested in Shadow the weasel, as maybe more so, more meat than the Chatterer. So there's a point where he has this idea to climb up very quietly. He sees this red tail hawk sleeping, and he crawls up, climbs up the tree and tugs on one of its feathers, and then runs away, and then runs in a different direction or whatever. And then when the hawk wakes up, that's the plan, and it worked. Is I'm giving you a spoiler alert as a spoiler. Uh, no alert really. The hawk sees the weasel and thinks the weasel did that. And so now the hawk is all over the weasel, and Chatterer gets away. It's really cool. But so I asked, here, the reason I'm doing this video is to show you the weird anomalies of AI, and also the communication interchange I had, it is creepy. It's cool, but it's a little scary because it's so much like a human. Take a look at this. And that's farther down. But so I told it, let's make the red squirrel slightly more worried, but everything else pretty much the same, because he's too happy. Remember, well, you don't remember if you haven't heard the story, but he's really cautiously doing this. And here he looks like he's having too much fun. So that might be the one I end up using. We'll see. I like that one. Beautiful. Please give me a slightly different alternative of that. That's a little alternative to that. That might be the one I use. I've saved all these, and I said, let's make. I said, let's make. Here's where it starts to get funny. I said, let's make the squirrel a little bit larger and the hawk slightly smaller. It looks like the hawk's just a little oversized, and it's almost exactly the same. Look, it's almost exactly the same. And I said, the hawk doesn't look any smaller, but actually looks almost bigger. The hawk doesn't, and I that made a mistake. I didn't continue the prompt, so it says you stop this response. But actually, it looks like, so let's make the red squirrel large, and let's make the bird tiny. And look what it did. And it's not even pulling on the tail now. Hilarious. I said, okay, now let's make the hawk larger, but I like the size of the squirrel. And then it did this. Here's where it starts to get fun. Look at that. Crazy. And then I said, unfortunately, I see two squirrels. Can you please show me just one squirrel? He says, my apologies for the error. Let's correct that. Here's a single squirrel and a single hawk, with the hawk larger and the squirrel the size you liked previously. I mean, that's really almost human sounding. But look what it did. It almost is like an FU finger, like a flipping me the bird. No pun intended. Hilarious. Here's where it gets interesting. I said, I think I still see two squirrels and two hawks. Do you see that? We're actually looking for just one single red squirrel. Oh, I didn't mean to have a question mark. Tugging on the tail feather of one single red tail hawk. And then you're absolutely right. And I apologize for the repeated mistake. I understand the request for one single squirrel and one single hawk clearly now. Here's an image with just one red squirrel tugging on the feather of one red-tailed hawk. And then, yeah, he's pulling on the tail of just one. Well, actually, he isn't. It looks like he's pulling the tail out of this little small hawk's head. I said, actually, although you did get rid of the extra squirrel, which is good, I see two hawks. I decided to be really human with it just to see how it would respond. I said, I see two hawks there, don't you? I was actually looking for just one single squirrel and one hawk. And here's where it gets kind of creepy. You're absolutely correct, and I sincerely apologize for yet another oversight. I clearly see the two hawks now and deeply regret the repeated errors. Jesus, it's just a computer. My instructions are to ensure I correctly interpret and generate images based on your descriptions, and I'm failing to do so here. Oh my God. I understand you want, a little scary. I understand you want one single red squirrel tugging on the tail feather of one single red-tailed hawk. I am generating a new image right now with only one squirrel and one hawk, as you've clearly requested. Thank you for your patience in pointing out my mistakes. And then it pulled on a tail connected to a twig. I mean, a feather. But we just have one and one. Now here, rounding the corner on the end of this here, this little story. You're welcome. Overall, you're doing a great job. You think the old AI overlords, if you're nice to them now, people joke about that, but I don't know. I don't think it makes a difference right now. But what if far in the future it remembers, it actually has that in its database, me being like polite? Because I'm sure some people are not polite, like, you fucking bitch. I'm sure they do that sometimes. I now only see one squirrel and one hawk, but it looks like the feather is attached to a twig that the hawk is holding on to in its claws. I was just looking for the squirrel to be tugging on one of the hawk's tail feathers. I guess I can try one. I guess can try one last time, and if it doesn't work out, I'll just use one of the earlier ones. Smiley face. Thank you for your understanding, continued patience. I truly appreciate it. My goal is to get this exactly right for you. You are correct. The feather in the last image looks, and it's not bad. That's not bad. You are correct. The feather in the last image looks like it's attached to a twig in the hawk's claws, not directly to its tail. I see that now. Like, why didn't it just not do it? It's just so funny, and it does that kind of thing a lot. I'm using it so much now, and different. I'm using Midjourney. Midjourney doesn't have the AI communication. Like if you communicate it and say, I'm wondering why do you? Oh, it's not working. It's not. Sometimes the speech to text doesn't populate correctly. I'm not going to, like, if I were to say, why is the text, why does the text look like a foreign language? It doesn't look like English, and it's not what I'd said. It won't answer. Like, let's try it. Open dictation box. Actually, the image is beautiful, but the text is not what I had mentioned, period. It looks like a foreign language or something, and only the last name, Ross, is correct, period. Why is that happening? Question mark. Can you fix that? Question mark. Like, you can do that with Gemini. Gemini is an AI personality, but this is just an image creation tool. So look at it just responds with an image. It doesn't give you a response. This is wild. People just know what I mentioned. It looks like a foreign language or something. What is happening? Can you fix that? What in the hell? That's what it gave me, Ross. That's the stupidity, but it's beautiful stuff. I mean, that's a really cool image. That looks like I'm going to actually download that. I'm going to upscale that to high definition. That looks actually really cool. It's just something I would almost want to frame, like put that, make that into a textured. You can pay. There are places that will actually make that into like a textured oil painting. Like it'll print it out as though it's textured. It'd probably cost me over $100, a couple $100 or something. Anyway, yeah. So there's my little the thing about Gemini and ChatGPT. That'll also answer you too, and Grok would as well when it does its image creation. Thanks for watching.